Well, I want to welcome you to the after party. I'm Das. I'm a registered dietitian, and I will start live streams on Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Time. And I hope that you can join me because I will be talking to you more intimately in what I call the after party. And I will primarily be talking about diet and weight loss, celebrity diets, popular diet reviews. If you're going to different places, popular fast food restaurants, what are some of the better choices? What are some of your worst choices at a number of these places that you may visit? I may talk about a couple of weight loss products. So, again, the emphasis would probably be leaning toward weight loss, but I will cover some other issues that if you are obese, these are some of the conditions that could be aggravated because you do have or you are obese. But anyway, welcome to the after party. Again, I'm Daz. Today's topic is, can an anti inflammatory diet help you? Can an anti inflammatory diet help you? Now, let's understand that there are two different categories of inflammation. And inflammation is a normal response when there's an injury or an infection. We'll go over some of the different reasons why you may experience inflammation. But you have acute inflammation and you have chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation, again, is a normal response. The body has an injury and chemicals are being released, and there's this inflammation. It's almost like the SWAT team comes in to protect that area of your body that was assaulted so that it can do its work to repair that particular area. So that's good. But if you have chronic inflammation, that could be problematic and lead to other health issues. So we want to cover different things that can cause inflammation. I've already talked about what it is, and let's get to that right now. By all means, share me with family and friends. Again, I will be doing a live stream on Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Time. All right, here are some of the things that can cause inflammation in the body. Like I said, an injury, you were in a car accident or something like that, infection, environmental factors. And when we say environmental factors, that could be pollutants in the air, it could be heavy metal or some toxic chemical that you were exposed to and your body reacts that way. Um, Environmental factors can encompass those things, and smog again, pollution, smog. But those are some of the things that would be considered an environmental factor. Now, in environmental factors, I'm also going to add in lifestyle, the way you eat, and your how you're taking care of your body. Certain foods that you could be eating could be causing this inflammation, which is what we're going to focus on in today's segment. So that's a part of environmental factors. Alcohol and smoke could be inflammatory. So, those are just some of the things that could cause that. Now, injury and infection, we would say that would be an acute inflammation. However, environmental factors, because these environmental factors, you could be living or working in a factory and there's chemicals or something else that could be causing you issues, that would be chronic because you're constantly exposed to it. Or if indeed you drink regularly or you're a heavy drinker, that would be chronic inflammation because you're doing that on a regular basis. So, some of the lifestyle factors, again, things that you're exposed to can cause that inflammation. Pain can cause inflammation if you have an autoimmune system, such as type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune system. And lupus would be an autoimmune area. So those are some of the things, and rheumatoid arthritis. So those are some of the areas that could lead to chronic inflammation. And that's where, that would be more of a concern. Obesity, we know, is associated with inflammation, some studies say, and irregular sleep. If you are someone who is not sleeping on a regular basis, you may have some difficulties getting to sleep. You're very stressed out, and that's keeping you from getting good quality sleep. Sometimes you're doing 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes no sleep. That could cause inflammation. So these are just some of the things that would be problematic and definitely could lead to inflammation. Now, a lot of people are having and experiencing inflammation, and it could be just it could be uncomfortable. It could cause you pain, or you're bloated, and things like that. But that's why we're going to talk about it. And the main thing we want to focus on now is diet, because that's my area of expertise. I do have a master's in public health, but I'm also a registered dietitian, and I look forward to sharing these with you. So if indeed you are concerned about it, and I would think you are if you're going to watch this segment, let's talk about diet. I want to focus on now some problem foods. Now, let's look at this because it's so much a part of our diet, particularly in the US. This is how we eat. This is this is how we do it. This is how we eat. But white flour products. And we like white flour products, do we not? We like biscuits. And biscuits and gravy, that's almost a double whammy. But we like biscuits, we like rolls. Some people, if you went to dinner, if you didn't eat anything else, you're going to eat those hot rolls with butter. Please help me. Yes. And another of other white flour products, pancakes, and we can go on. White bread, because, well, why white bread? Well, it's the milling process. Now, flour, when you take the grain, it's a whole grain, meaning that it has most of its properties there and more nutrients there. But when you take that grain and you wash it and you put it through the milling process, you lose a lot of nutrients. You lose so many nutrients that it's mandated that at least five are put back in. Folate is one of the five. Iron, niacin, riboflavin. So some of those have to be put back in because you lose them during the milling process. So you're getting a product that, unless it's fortified. Now, when I say fortified, that means you're putting a nutrient in a product that is not there. But in the case of the milling process, it would have to be enriched. Enriched means during the process of manufacturing that particular product, a lot of nutrients were lost. So you need to put them back in. So I said fortified. I didn't mean to say fortified because I'm thinking of something else. But the product is, unless it's enriched, meaning what was lost during the process of manufacturing that food, it has to be put back in. Saltine crackers, be it Ritz, saltine, whatever. They're made from these white flour products. Who doesn't like crackers? I'm telling you, I could eat the whole box of crackers. The way I was raised, my mom would sometimes crumble up saltine crackers, put some peanut butter and milk, a little sugar, and that was our cereal. Please. It was wonderful. So we grow up on these types of foods. We grow up eating this way. Share with me how you grew up. Did you grow up grandma's biscuits? Did you grow up granddaddy's hot rolls? My Uncle Scott made the best hot rolls. I'm telling you, you can make a meal out of it in and of itself. And then when you go to the fast food places, you're going to get biscuits and gravy. White flour, white flour, white flour. So we do eat these products on a regular basis, and not to mention the baked goods, the cookies, cake. and all of the baked goods. So it's a part of our diet. Pasta, unless you're going to get whole grain pasta or rice pasta, it's a part of our diet on a regular basis. So you say, well, I'm eating a pasta salad, I'm trying to cut back. It's still a white flour product. So we would need to look at that. So we want to mention that that is some problem foods. We need to look at the refined grains that we eat. That's the first thing that I want to cover. And this refined grains also includes a lot of the cereals that we eat and that we enjoy. Unless it's puffed wheat or puffed rice or Cheerios or it's 100% whole grain. A number of the cereals that we eat, and I won't call any names, are made from white flour and is highly processed. So again, we need to look at that. Unless you're eating a whole grain cereal like Cheerios or Kix. And let's look at some more problematic foods. Now, here I'm showing you processed foods. Processed foods, for a number of reasons, and there are a couple of ingredients in these processed foods, not to mention these chemicals, but that could be a problem for you in inflammation. So let's just look at that. Because what we want to do is we don't want to be overwhelmed. But what we want is, okay, I've got the knowledge, and how can I slowly walk in a more positive vein? So we don't want you to go into your cupboard, go into your refrigerator and throw away everything. Food is expensive. We got it. But let's slowly walk through a process. You may want to start with, okay, I will go from white bread to oatmeal bread or whole wheat bread or some other type of bread. I may choose more whole grain cereals like oatmeal if it's cooked, and some whole grain cereals if you're going to get ready to eat, albeit it's been processed. But hot dogs, sausages, luncheon meats, all of these are processed. And you see there, you go into the fast food restaurant, they don't serve you whole foods. You get a lot of processed foods. If it comes in a can, in a cellophane wrapper, um, if it's a frozen meal, we used to call them TV dinners. I don't think they call them TV dinners anymore, but a frozen meal, it's been highly processed. Well, if it comes in a box, if all you have to do is add water to it in order for you to consume it, it's highly processed. So does that mean, I'm busy, I've got a lot going on, I'm juggling a lot of things? That means I can never eat a ready to eat food? Once again, if this is what you're doing on a regular basis, and regular is several times during the week, that's a problem for you. You would need to maybe at night do some pre prep so that when you come home, all you have to do is what we call assemble. Excuse me. All you have to do is assemble. And we have to look at time management, folk, because like I said, this is more intimate talk. When I do my produced programs, I just give you the straight information. But in the after party, I want to build a community. I want to enjoy talking to you about the real deal. Okay. So now, what we have to do is think of ways that we can do some more food preparation. Because I was talking to someone the other day and I was saying, it's amazing how a couple of decades ago they made everything from scratch. And not only did they make everything from scratch, they didn't have air conditioning. It was hot as Bingham in the summer months. And that fan was blowing hot air. You barely got relief from that. but they were able to cook wholesome meals. And they didn't have all of the gadgets and food processors, blenders. They whipped that up. They beat that. So we have to make time for what's important. I don't want to stress you out, but I'm just saying we need to start walking in a different path if we want different results. Okay. And then chips and all of those things that we like to snack on, those are highly processed foods. Just saying. Now, problem foods, because these are the 6 problem foods. Number 1, do you remember? That's the refined grains. Number 2, do you remember? That's your processed foods. And here we're looking at fried foods. We love French fries. If there's someone of you, please tell me in the chat or tell me in the comment section if you weren't able to catch this live stream. Please tell me, do you like French fries? Is there anyone who does not like French fries? Please tell me. I don't like French fries. I need to know in the comment. I need to see that. We love French fries. We do. Fried eggs. You can get some of the Asian foods that you eat there, egg rolls and things like that. They're deeply fried chicken. That's the whole world. That's the globe, fried chicken. So if we are consuming these foods on a regular basis and you're having issues or you think you have issues with inflammation, you need to kind of roll it back. Okay. So, because there are 6 problem foods that I want to cover in this segment. Now, omega-6 is an essential fatty acid. And we're not going to get too deep into this, but when we say it's essential, which is what it is, it's an essential fatty acid, you have to get it from your diet. Now, once you get the omega-6 fatty acid, it can create or manufacture other essential fatty acids that are important for our health. It's omega-6 fatty acid can convert to arachidonic acid and another type of a fatty acid. And it could be pro-inflammatory. Now, it's conflicting on that because some say, well, it's against inflammation. It reduces inflammation. Some would say, well, no, its function is to create inflammation because we need inflammation, as what we said in the beginning of the presentation. We need the inflammation because if there's an injury and what the body does, it inflames around that area, if you will. It almost builds a temporary wall around that area so that the body can go in and repair, and now you're good as new. But so although we want people to eat more omega-6 fatty acid because it's a polyunsaturated fatty acid and that's so wonderful, it is pro-inflammatory with some of the products that it would make, like arachidonic acid. So moderation. This is the beautiful thing, moderation. Some things I would say we never need to eat, period. But some things in moderation, we can handle it, okay? So this omega-6 fatty acid, well, where do we get it? We get it from walnuts. You can get omega-6 fatty acid from tuna, from mackerel. There are, salmon. There are a number of places that we would get that. It does have good properties for our health, but just want to keep that in mind, okay? And now we're getting into the 5th food, because I said there's 6 foods that are very problematic. And then I'm going to cover the foods that you want to focus on. So let's finish these problematic foods. And then saturated fat. Now, I say saturated fat. I can't think of anything for the most part, if you're eating a lot of it, that saturated fat is good for. We need saturated fat. A number of the things that we eat, there's a combination of types of fats in those foods. But we are accelerating in our eating of fried foods and foods that are high in saturated fat. And I want to bring your attention to particularly red meat. So you particularly want to look at red meats. So we're talking hamburgers, sausages, um, if there's beef sausages or and steaks and a number of things that we eat on a regular basis, red meat, probably hamburger. If I were on Jeopardy and Steve Harvey, if I were there, I'll say, "Hey Steve, shout out to you, man. I like you." And they said the number one red meat, I'm gonna say hamburgers. What would be your answer? That would be my answer. And I think my team would win because I'm really thinking that would be number one. Be as it may. Be as it may, you particularly want to look at those red meats. Now, in addition to the red meat, let's keep it moving. Let's see. Let me go back. I didn't want to do that. Let's go back. Okay. In addition to the red meat, you want to be careful about saturated fat that are in your dairy products. So, ice cream, saturated fat, and the most expensive ice creams are richer in fat. That's why they are. The cheap ice creams are mainly a lot of air or filler that has been put into that, and you don't taste the cream. It's more like an iced milk. But the richer, the more expensive. Ooh, man, yes, yes. Now I mainly do non-dairy. I was at that Ben and Jerry factory in Vermont. Oh, you gotta go. But I got the non-dairy ice cream and it was wonderful. But even though it was non-dairy, you still have to look at your sources of saturated fat. Saturated fat mainly comes from animal products, but you can also get saturated fat from palm oil, which is in a lot of baked goods, and coconut. And coconut oil are saturated. But then you said, well, we're told to eat more coconut oil, coconut oil, coconut oil, coconut oil. It does have good properties, particularly for your skin, for your hair, but to eat a lot of it in addition, hear me out on this, in addition to the typical diet that we eat in the US of A, that could be a problem. It is a source of a saturated fat. It is what it is. And saturated fat can alter your gut composition. So we're talking more about gut, and I will do I will probably do a pre-produced program on that. So in Das Cafe, and please subscribe, Das Cafe Good Living. Check out my YouTube and subscribe. But on Tuesdays, I will do a produced program on diet and health. Wednesdays, at the beginning of the month, I will do a healthy cooking show or a healthier cooking show. I'm not the dietitian that does bark off the tree. Sorry, y'all. I'm kind of flexible, but I lean toward healthier options. And then on Thursdays, I got that live stream. So we've got a lot cooking in Das Cafe, and on our menu, we have so many good things that we serve to you. But we may do one of those programs on how to have a healthy gut. So now we want to talk about the 6 best foods to consume. Leafy green vegetables. If you can tell me something wrong with a leafy green vegetable, please, baby, bring it on. Bring it on. So, some people don't eat greens. Like up north, they may not be familiar with greens. Or but greens are kale, collard, turnip, mustard greens, all of that. So you need to do that. Okay. And anyway, so we got that down. And the other foods that we want to include in our diet are citrus, berries, all of the berries. And there's just other good foods that we want to make sure that we include in our diet. Okay. Nuts and seeds and apples. Well, that's it. I wanted to share with you that some of those foods, you got the problematic foods. I mentioned to you those foods that we need to focus on. Again, nuts, seeds, dark green leafy vegetables, and apples. I prefer apple with the skin, but wash it very thoroughly. If you want to get the organic apple, that's fine with me. But there are a lot of good properties in apples. And that's probably why they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Um, I know my mom had some issues with constipation and she tried everything. I've been giving her apples and we don't have an issue with that anymore. But anyway, okay. And then the berries, olive oil. I didn't mention olive oil. And then the citrus fruits. So that's lemon, lime, grapefruit, oranges. Wonderful things. Well, I'm Daz. I want you to check out my YouTube channel, Daz Cafe Good Living. Subscribe. And we will be starting very, 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 very soon. So go to my website, which is www.dazcafe.org, and go there under diet and wellness, or just look at the whole website. It'll show you. It's easy to navigate. But we will be doing an online weight loss course, and we're looking for a few candidates in our first session. It is packed. I will share with you my three-pronged approach to weight loss, and you want to be a part of that class. So go register so you can hold yourself a seat. Well, anyway, I'm Daz. I'm out. Thank you for joining me. Hope you got some good information, and see you in the after party next time.